So once you find out that your voice has the ability to resonate a little bit based on your profile and based on your career, do you then change how you approach your career? Do you look for roles where you can make statements? Do you think an artist has to do that?
I think, no, they don't have to do that at all, but certainly that is one of the benefits of being in that position, that you can change minds and open hearts and hopefully create a little compassion. I think that's part of the sort of advocacy that I do for Canadian culture, especially for television, is that it's the idea that we need to see our stories, so that these stories on television, this hugely powerful medium, has the ability to change people's mind. It has the ability to illuminate things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of, to give us compassion, to help us understand what that must be like to be the other person. And so I think that more and more, of course I hopefully choose those kinds of roles, but you also do other ones.
Sure.
You got to pay the rent.
We talk so much about how important the railroad was in connecting this country. But this network and the idea of this telling stories, this is the intellectual and the emotional railroad of this country that goes to every town when done properly. But why is it seemingly difficult to get Canadians to want to hear their stories? Because Canadian films open. People don't always go. No,
they don't always go. But we are now conditioned to American product. So what happens is, in 1999, the CRTC, which is our regulatory board, lifted regulations on private broadcasters on the amount of Canadian programming that they had to show in primetime hours. So at the promise that they would, of course, air Canadian drama, don't make us do it, we're going to do it, don't worry, there'll be even more, there was none. So we went to having 12 one-hour series to having 0. Right. It all fell out. All Canadian content now is cooking and gardening shows that go on in the morning that don't cost anything to make, and they just pump in simulcast American broadcasting on all our primetime hours. So what we're looking for here is a little bit of shelf space for those Canadian stories, because I do think they can be popular. So Canadian shows, so if you look at, I mean, you can take any number of examples from recently Flashpoint, Republic of Doyle, that's doing so well, the Arctic Air now that's doing well, that Da Vinci's Inquest, A Corner Gas, all these shows that have been done can find an audience. But if you continually sort of push Canadian things into the background, what starts to happen is that people are conditioned to turning on their television and seeing American products sitting there. Right. We need to give more shelf space and allow people to find it in prime time hours on our dial.
The model exists in radio. In radio, you have to play X amount of Canadian content, but the way the CRTC works it is you have to play it from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., same amount, and from 6 p.m. to midnight, you have to play You Can't Get-A-Wise, as they called it,
exactly.
The content.
The content. And what has happened with that? Our Canadian artists have become worldwide successes. For sure. So our musicians now, we're respected worldwide for our musicians. We don't have great musicians and great authors and great painters and don't have good writers and TV actors and shows. Yeah. That's not how it works. Of course, we have great talent in this country, but it needs the shelf space in order to be seen.